There's a time and a place for every player to go ISO at some point. It shouldn't be the bulk of 99.9% of players' games, but it's valuable to be able to go get a bucket. So in this video, we'll talk about what skills you need to develop, how to read defenders, the go-tos for good ISO players, and much more. Also, if you're looking to have a one-stop shop for everything you need to develop your game, check out our Virtual Academy Ultimate Development Program. You can train any skill, your athleticism, your mind, your IQ, all in one place. I'll put the link in the description. Let's get to it. So first off, I want to emphasize that every player's ISO game will be significantly different. So I want you to really analyze what your strengths are, and then cater your ISO game to that. If your shooting is what makes you special, you need to be looking to create shots off the bounce, and then use that to create driving angles and opportunities. If you're a bigger guard, you're probably looking more so to bully around the rim, or get down to these short jumpers and elevate. If you're quick and or crafty as hell, but you can't really shoot, well, you're looking to get a momentum advantage and get to the rim. If you're a big, of course, get to your post up or your Barkley bag and get to work. If you have no strengths or identity, you probably want to develop one. There's really no excuse to not be good at something. So this not only gives you clarity on what you should be looking for, but also helps you develop an idea for your bread and butters, which simplifies the game for you because now you have certain things you can hang your hat on versus getting paralysis by analysis. And this is something that players struggle with all the time mentally. We see guys like Kyrie and think, damn, I got to develop a super deep bag. Or what move should I use to beat a defender? There's so many options. And then they have so much in their mind that they overthink it. When in reality, all the best ISO players are looking to get into certain simple things, and then if it's taken away, that's when they get creative. And we'll talk about this later. Now, speaking of simplicity, you hear all the time to keep it simple. Don't take too many dribbles. So what does this actually mean? How do you keep it simple? Well, much of this, in my opinion, is referring to advantage creation. In other words, how you initially get a burst on your defender or get enough space to shoot the ball, which is very often done with basic, simple setup dribbles like a hang, a slow between, turning your back to them, or literally just a blow-by dribble, trying to go by them, all of which are meant to either quickly create space or force the defender to take something away from you. Like here, the setup dribble gets him to shift a little bit, and because of that, now he has a picture of where he can drive. And honestly, these setup dribbles, they're really just ways to open up a window of time for you to decide on what's the best way to attack the defender, while they're showing you their cards a little bit. Like here on this hang, I'm simply buying time for the defender to make a decision, and when he does, that's when I'm able to utilize that top foot coming up, get a little bit of an advantage, and then raise up because of it. And again, a big key here is to limit that paralysis by analysis and the overthinking, which is easier said than done. But once you take this setup dribble, it's all about letting your instinct take over. And we talk all the time about quote unquote reading your defenders as if it were a conscious process. But if you're sitting there thinking about, well, if he steps here, I cross, if this top foot comes up, I do this, your brain simply doesn't work quickly enough for that. These happen in time frames that are only doable via reflexive processes. And trying to make it a slow thinking process where you consciously think about this is actually going to end up making it worse, and these predetermined decisions usually don't end up right. Now, at first, you may have to do this a bit. You may have to think. You may have to read consciously, simply because you don't have enough experience for it to be an instinct yet. But your goal should be to think about it less as you get better. Because terrible ISO players, they think about their dribbling. They don't have enough control to do it autonomously. Bad ISO players are thinking about their defenders as they make moves. Where's he gonna go? Where are his feet? Good ISO players, they think about the space past their initial defender or where they want to get to. Or honestly, even nothing at all. They're just flowing because it's all instinctual, and we'll talk about this. Now, if you're overthinking, like I said, it's easier said than done to get away from this, so here's a general idea of a quick fix. 1, try to just go more often. You'd be surprised how many times you can get a nice advantage from just trying to beat your defender with something super simple. And do this quickly too. So many players sit there doing hardened tweens over and over again, and not only overthink it, but also look like absolute clowns to their teammates, and then wonder why they don't get the rock back. Second, try to get to a bread and butter setup like we talked about. So a hang dribble, maybe a slow between the legs, maybe you're turning your back, and then challenge yourself to make the move instinctually. You also want to orient your mindset towards simplicity. If you look to get to a spot, into space, you look to get your shoulders past the defender, or maybe you look to get a jumper off, These are all simple, goal-oriented process that you can put your mind on. And then when the defender takes that away, it's more instinctive. You're going to react, at least as you get good at it over time. And also realize here that there's no right or wrong decisions. Basketball isn't a black or white game. And this gives you a ton of freedom to basically do anything that works. And honestly, here I'd say one of the best goals to have is getting defenders' hips turned. When this happens, by you attacking hard, everything else becomes that much easier. You can pull up and leave them in the dust. You can change directions if they overplay it. You can get all the way to the rim. You can snatch back. But that starts with you relentlessly looking to flip the hips. You don't even have to get all the way by your defender on ISOs. It's just about putting them in an uncomfortable defensive position. Or getting all the way down to the paint because they can't cut you off, their hips are turned. And once you're down in the paint, well, you can figure it out from there. You can finish with different timings, go off two, be unpredictable, and make it work. Regardless, this advantage winning phase is where you want to keep it as simple as possible. Now, once you get that quick advantage, that's where you may have to make it a little bit more complex if the defense cuts it off. Or at times if you struggle to get one. If you're playing against a good defender, you can't seem to shake them a little bit, get them to turn their hips, then you may have to pull some more tricks out of your hat. But even then, most times if you set them up with a simple attack, you're going to have some sort of advantage. They got a little bit of momentum working against them. Their hips are slightly turned. You got them a little bit off balance. You may not realize this at first, but with a ton of 1v1 experience, you can start to tune up your mind to realize these and then counter accordingly. So, it is important to add a ton of movement tools into your toolbox in terms of how you react to defenders, which is why I try to get so unorthodox with our players with footworks, movement patterns, and various counters. But when we talk about how we make the defender react and gain that advantage, that part needs to be simple. Plus, these decisions should be instinctual. Then, in terms of shot selection, simplicity means first, don't expect to create space like this every time. When you get enough, shoot it. You should look to take the first shot that's one, free enough to get it off without significantly changing your shot. If you don't have to change your shot, does a contest really matter? I would say not if you work on it. And two, a shot that is in rhythm and fluid. Now, many times these jumpers will be comfortable shots if you're able to get to your spot, which is to me, not getting to specific spots on the court that you're good at, but getting to a spot in relation to a defender that makes it tough for them to recover and then raise up with you. So like here, getting a bit of an advantage, the defender's hips are turned, and then by the time you raise up, they're still recovering, and it's your spot because it's comfortable for you, it's in rhythm, and it feels good. But also work on creating rhythm with more types of shots, even the slightly difficult ones, or honestly, the really difficult ones. You'll be surprised at how many more shots you'll start to perceive as open when you can make tougher shots. Now, while we're on this, keep in mind that if you can't shoot dynamically off the dribble, you probably shouldn't be going ISO much at a high level. And shooting off the dribble will usually mean you're not always perfectly balanced, feet even, jumping straight up and down, but oftentimes drifting a bit, slightly staggered with your feet, rotating and more. So you're gonna have to become a dynamic shooter. Also, especially when you are contested, you need to find some way to get your jumpers off, whether it's a quicker release, a higher release, higher elevation, you're fading. And while most people try to shoot with one shooting form every time, sometimes it's going to require you to switch it up a bit depending on the situation. And let's be real, part of ISO is making tougher shots at the end of a shot clock, so you better be ready to make these. Oh, and a bigger concept here that can help you get these shots off is timing. This is something that almost every elite ISO scorer has, and it really comes down to just manipulating when you explode off the dribble or when you shoot, especially when in close quarters, defenders pressing up on you. It's going to help you a ton to be able to catch them off guard with unorthodox timing.
Shot. Cash. It's not just you, bro. It's 90% of guys. They're shooting it when that's most comfortable like this. It's like a rhythm shot versus you'll notice like as it's on the way down, they're like, nah, he's not about to shoot it when it's on the way down, and then you pull it from there.
You don't know what I'm pulling.
Try to block me. I'm going to shoot going to my left hand.
See that? Yeah, that probably could be a pull. That could be a pull. That could be a pull. That could be a pull.
Now, here's an interesting part. In all of that, we were just talking about beating the initial defender. In a real game, it's just as much about the help defense as your initial defenders. I'll cover more of this in a future video, but I want to give you the basics here. First off, as I alluded to earlier, we want you to be able to orient your focus on what's past your first defender. Are there gap defenders? Is the help already in place behind them? That's not only going to decide whether you should go ISO or not, but the direction you go, how deep into the defense you can get, and then how you get there. And in most of these clips, you'll notice that these guys make their decisions based on where the space is past their defender, not only based on where the initial guy plays it. So you need to get good enough to not think about the dribble, not even thinking about beating this guy, but monitoring all of these ones as well. Ironically though, many times not focusing on your first defender actually helps you get by them easier because you don't end up overthinking it. Side note, even in terms of beating your initial defender, it's actually easier in 5v5 sometimes because you're able to use your surroundings a bit, looking defenders off and capitalizing on them being distracted by some of the chaos of the game. Try to monitor what's past your initial defender a bit more and see what happens with time. And then lastly, I want to leave you with some general tips here to take with you. First, get really good at least 2 out of the 4 levels. The 4 levels being the 3-ball, the longer mid-range game, getting all the way to the rim, and then the 4th level is that short jumper floater area. If you can become super sharp from all 4, okay, you're elite. But if you can get at least 2 of these down, you're in a good spot. I'd strongly suggest making one of those being a knockdown shooter from 3 though. It holds the defense accountable and you can really play off of it. Also, you gotta know when to go ISO in a real game. Most times, I say in these 3 situations. 1, towards the end of a shot clock. 2, you get a switch on a mismatch, or your defender just sucks in general, so it's easy for you to beat them. And then 3rd, you've been cooking, and it's a heat check situation. Otherwise, I try to make the game easier with ball screens, handoffs, and much more. Also, keep in mind that ISO doesn't just mean shooting it, but also looking to create great advantages for teammates with a simple collapse of the defense. And then lastly, ways to work on this. Number 1, the most obvious, 1v1, preferably with 3 or 4 dribbles or a time limit. But there's also time for unlimited dribbles ones, but still try to keep it simple here. And when you play, try new stuff and really go at it. 2, shot making drills. Again, you gotta get good at shooting it off the bounce with a bit of craziness, so I strongly suggest your training reflecting this rather than always shooting slow, wide open spot shots. Of course, 5v5 is a great one, as we talked about, where you're able to keep tabs on the 2nd and 3rd layers of defense. And then lastly, build your toolbox. Watch really good ISO players, see what moves they have in their arsenal, and then go try them, putting your own flair on it and seeing how it goes against live defense. If you do all of this, chances are you get pretty damn good at beating defenders in ISO situations. So I'll definitely have more content coming on this soon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our virtual academy, which is the ultimate resource for you as a hooper to get better. Till next time.